Hello, and thank you for joining us. This is a very informal time. I'm actually here in Georgia visiting my sister and my family, my brother-in-law, my nephews, having a great time. My sister agreed to take time out of our schedule to answer a few questions for the group, make us one, impromptu. She has no idea what I'm going to ask her. I may surprise her, who knows? But she agreed to do it. And I primarily wanted to do this because she is a wealth of information, and a lot of people see her blogs, they see her webpage, you look at her bio, her credentials, but you don't have an opportunity to really get the questions and answers out of her. So my sister encourages me, she consoles me, she consults me. I have learned and grown so much just from her being my sister, even though she's my baby sister. So I do take advantage of it, but honestly I try not to take too much advantage of it because she's gone through a lot to get to the point she's at, and I don't take that for granted, nor do I take her time for granted, because she's quite a busy person. So without taking up too much more time talking, because I will, I want to start by asking Nina the traditional, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself first? Your title. Tell us your title, a little bit about your background, please, your education. Could you please tell us a little bit about that?
Okay, I'll just keep it short.
Okay.
Keep it short and sweet because that conversation can keep going. If you want to think of it this way in a simple term, I'm a healthy lifestyle coach and consultant. So that's the easy way to say it. I have multiple degrees in kinesiology, nutrition, and rehabilitation, pretty much all of the degrees. My final degree was a PhD, and again, that's in kinesiology, nutrition, and rehabilitation. I specialize in healthy lifestyle interventions for the prevention of chronic diseases. So the chronic diseases that we all know, everyone knows of these because someone in everyone's family has one of these: diabetes, hypertension, cardiovascular disease, and related disorders. So I really, in a nutshell, through research, through consulting, through coaching, through program design, and just other collaborations, the primary goal is to simplify the healthy living experience for prevention of those chronic diseases and all of the risk factors for them. So I think I summed it up pretty well. I've been doing this for a long time. Over 20 years now, so just a lot of different, different ways, different credentials associated with it. Personal training is something that's familiar. Although I teach personal trainers, I don't really personal train as much, but basically if you think of anything under the umbrella of health, fitness, and wellness, I've done it or trained someone to do it. Okay, I think I cleared that up.
You did. And what she does, and kind of like it, but I honestly don't like it. So let me just tell you that and be transparent. She simplifies everything that she has done. But I know that she has a lot of education. She put all of those, added up those degrees and summed them up in 2 minutes. But she's been in school forever. She has a lot of degrees, a lot of certifications. She's taken a lot of challenging exams to accomplish these goals. She's gone through school with mostly straight A's. You don't see that because we're not allowed to put all these things on a resume or a short bio. But it hasn't always been easy for our family or for her. I know that because I was there. And you don't hear about that. So people take for granted that her, or we for that matter, had some easy life, or that there was a life with no challenges, but she has gone through a lot to get where she is, and has gone through suffering just like everyone else has. So when I look at it from afar, or anybody else may look at it from afar, it seems evident that, Nina, you're clearly smart, you're mentally and physically fit.
That's we're getting back there. That's this is post baby.
Okay, but however, to us, she looks physically fit.
Well, thank you.
And you manage a business, you're a consultant.
Yeah.
So for the purpose of the group and from a mental health perspective.
Oh, we're going to go mental.
What does it mean for you to be one?
Oh, that's Me personally or someone else?
Let's start with you.
Well, I'll just tell it like this. Originally, even people who followed me earlier, from a standpoint of blogging and just the way I train people, the way I even coach people to a certain extent, it was very much exercise, eat right, yeah, happiness. And even my very first publication was entitled Successful Aging. And basically I wrote it with one of my mentors, she was older, and I just was like, exercise and nutrition, this should be an easy paper, right? And she said, you'll figure this out over time. Right now you're still young and you're not quite there yet. And I kept saying, how could you say that we can't, be one or be well, right, with just exercise and good nutrition? That's the key to everything. And she says, you'll figure it out. There's a social component to this. There's a psychological component to this. All these components add up. And she never gave me that answer. Let's fast forward. That was actually many years ago now, over 15 years ago, when we had that conversation. And I can honestly say, with the challenges I've gone through in life and in health, that answer is bigger than just exercise and nutrition. I'll talk about that, I guess, maybe in this dialogue, but I'll sum it up quickly to say that, to me, being one, right, is really being well in all aspects of health and wellness. So it's not just exercising and eating right. The mental is so important with all of this. Being mentally well, emotionally well, financially well. Really it's the pillars of wellness. And without one, you can't really have all others in order. But I'll say that it really starts with your mindset, your mental, your emotional health, because when that's intact, other things can fall into place. Now, that's something you would have never heard me say that 20 years ago, ever. But I can honestly say, when you're mentally well, when you're mentally one, you'll exercise. You may do things that you love, but you'll get it in. You'll eat well. You'll care to take care of yourself. You'll care to take care of your family. You'll care to pick the right friends, to choose those friends wisely.
That's good.
Choose your relationships. Everything falls into place when you are one in that aspect. Is that clear?
That's very clear.
I'm hoping that is. It's a long answer. I was trying to keep it a little short.
Mm-hmm. The long answer is good. Thank
Okay.
you very much. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that answer. And mental health, as we know, is very important. And so tell me, at your lowest state, what is the rope that you climb as a means for pulling yourself up?
Well, so I wrote about this a lot. Actually, I didn't write about it a lot live. I wrote about it a lot in my journal, my personal journal. So my history, I've shared it. I've shared it on my Facebook page. I've shared it in my blog. I've shared it in a lot of places. But I, aside from the fact that I grew up and I did have a food addiction as a teenager, young adolescent, I had a food addiction. So whenever I had problems, I turned to food. We grew up in poverty. We grew up below the poverty line. Pretty intense situation. My sister was not around living still when the house burned down and all that stuff went down, but we had a lot of challenges. So food at that time was my friend. I overcame that, and hence the exercise and nutrition. I ended up kind of being introduced to this field due to what I thought was that lowest point. I'd say things were getting better, but definitely that lowest point started when I felt like I was doing everything right. My career was going well. I had a son, a healthy boy, a wonderful marriage, and really everything was just going solid. It all started going south when I wanted a second baby, and I ultimately was pregnant with 3 babies. And I ended up losing that pregnancy. So triplets, naturally made triplets. I ended up losing that pregnancy, and I lost 5 more pregnancies after that. I had basically had fibroids that were complicating things. My age started to trickle into the equation, just a whole lot of factors. And none of these factors were under my control. My issue, I'm an A-type, it's control. And so my lowest point came when I lost control. When I was in a situation where I felt like I couldn't do anything, there was nothing I can do. And then I realized that sheer act of having control, even thinking that I can control my emotions when all of this was going on, was getting me in trouble. So ultimately, in the same time frame that I lost probably my first pregnancy, my career and research kind of started going south. It wasn't going where I wanted it to go. I was really going into a depressed state. I didn't know then, but I was going into a really depressed state, and a state that I thought I could really fight myself out of by myself. A good colleague and mentor of mine suggested that I seek therapy because I was really falling apart. And through therapy, and I don't mean church therapy, I don't mean talking to, a pastor or something like that. I mean sitting down with an unbiased professional who was trained to do this. I was able to really see what was happening to me, see how my control, my need to have control was really leading to me having no control. And I learned different strategies for, writing things out and talking things out and really taking care of myself. I found that, I was in a situation sometimes where I was trying to please everybody. I was trying to please colleagues. I was trying to please clients. I learned to say no. There were just a lot of strategies and important things that I learned about myself that allowed me to see, if you take care of all of this stuff, everything else will start to feel different and less threatening. So it was really all about the way I perceive things and how I approach things, and how actually being able to receive the information that was given to me in the way of strategy, I put those things into practice, and I just was able to pull myself out of it with a mental power, with mental emotional health. And that's how I'd say I did it. And it's interesting. I tell my sister all the time, and it was like, and just when I got there, I was pregnant within two months. and I'm not saying that was the reason, but I'm saying that stress is real, and emotional issues are real, and it can influence every aspect of your life.
And I love that analogy about her getting pregnant within 2 months, because childbirth represents so many things in life. Once you reduce the stress out of your life, I've noticed for myself that I've been able to birth so many different things because of it. When the stress is reduced, because it's not just once, it's every time it occurs. Mm-hmm. I have to continue to practice some of the things that Nina is saying in order to bring about new ideas and things in my life. But something very interesting about Nina, Dr. Nina, my sister, baby sister, is that she's been in this practice and in school and education, and I promise you I've learned so much, as I stated already. But it's not until mentally I was in a position to accept everything that I had learned, everything she had told me. After all these years, sometimes she'll say, "Now, I told you that a long time ago." Or I even go to a doctor and say, "Nina, guess what the doctor told me?" And she's like, "But I told you that a long time ago." But it's mentally, to be in the right mental place and able to accept these things is when I've been able to address and appreciate a lot of what Dr. Nina has told me. So
it's fun. Can I say something?
Sure.
It's funny that you said that, because I was thinking about when I said the pregnancy within 2 months part, mm-hmm. and the birth mm-hmm, thing. Mm-hmm. You can almost use that, because I was pregnant before, but the pregnancy this time led to a birth.
Right.
And you can almost look at it as a new birth of anything. Mm-hmm. A new birth mm-hmm. of anything. I remember our father used to say that a lot. He would use birth as a term for beginnings a lot. So it didn't necessarily mean childbirth. Right. But he would use it as, birth of a beginning of something. Right. And I felt that when I gave birth, it was like the beginning of, oh, I got this together. I finally got this together. And even if challenges arise, you have what it takes to actually, approach those challenges.
That's it.
So a new birth may be getting a new set of friends.
That's it. It works.
It may mean, unfortunately, in some cases, it may mean that partnership that you were in, that marriage, may have to dissolve because you have to give birth to your new life. But and so I thought that was interesting.
That is.
Just even hearing you say that sparked something.
Yeah, I appreciate it, and I appreciate your help even now, because after this experience, I'm sure that someone will be motivated to just do something new. These conversations and small tidbits, but in this case, this wealth of information is just so helpful in our everyday lives. And I know that people inbox you, Dr. Neiman, want all of this free help and support. And so I just have a question for you.
Okay.
Are you for hire? Are you for hire? Can someone hire you? And how do they do that if they can? And I won't be offended, nor will anybody else, if you say no.
So this is, I can finally say this because I say it a lot in my inbox in response. As much as I love to help people, one of the reasons why I transitioned from a life of being more of a practitioner, training people kind of one-on-one. I coach, but very minimal coaching with very special circumstances. But one of the reasons why I chose to do that is because I felt that I could have more impact by training the people who work with the people.
And that's good. Train the trainer.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when you get up there and your time is worth a whole lot of money, that's what you do. So
I didn't say that, but
so thank you. I just wanted you to answer that for everyone who may be listening or may get a copy of this. So when the questions start coming, and they will, just know that there are many opportunities to get information. There are links. She has so much information available on her website. And when I have questions right now, guess what? Before I call her, I go to the website.
Or I'll send her a link.
Yeah, she'll send me a link. And I'll text her and say, can you send me the link about this? Because I know I've seen it, but I just don't remember where it was. Honestly, I do. I research her site before I call her because, first of all, I don't want to be redundant and kind of embarrassed for asking her things I asked her 20 years ago. But at the same time, I value her time and everything. So I'm going to switch gears before we end and just make a statement, a mini statement. George Floyd.
So, I disappeared. I'll just start. Let's start with COVID.
COVID. Okay.
So, it all started with that. I actually, me seeing all of the pre-existing disorders that were basically being put at the forefront in relation to COVID. I had an initial response, and the initial response was, and this was the response that I would give to my professional colleagues, not the people that I'm around, but had we started tackling this problem before something else happened, if we were better tackling and getting on top of these chronic diseases, then there's a strong possibility that we wouldn't be seeing these rates of death the way we saw them, right? That's where I was on a professional standpoint. I never said that to anyone because I don't do that. I never wanted it to sound like I was blaming anyone or anything. And so what I said is, instead of talking about that, let me figure out a solution. I'm going to put together this mega informational article, which is still in the queue, where I'm going to really tell people, okay, so it is what it is. This is what we're doing. What can we do in the presence of this COVID to make sure that we stay healthy before and after this thing occurs? So I'm all inspired to write this article, and I'm writing it, and boom, this video pops up. After, and this is after I should say before that even was the Arbery situation, where, you know, this is someone running, because now this is becoming kind of real, because that's what I like to do. Granted, I'm a woman, and probably a black woman, and probably the odds of that happening to me as a black woman running is probably less than that. But I do have many, many friends who are black men who run. Many in particular that I can think about who run in Georgia. And so that was an initial, it just kind of hit home. But I'm still gonna write this article. It's gonna be inspiring. But then, you know, the George Floyd case happened, and I honestly was stunned to the point that I couldn't even speak anymore. And so when this happened, now I'm angry, and I'm so angry that I can't even write the article now. Because I have a husband who is a black man. I have boys who are black men. I have one son in particular who is getting closer and closer to the Trayvon Martin age. So now it never was cool. It's okay, but it never was cool, but it's really not cool now. It was never cool. So now I'm thinking about, how can I sit and address anything from a health standpoint when all of this is going on? How can I even talk about how to eat a healthy meal or go outside and run when people are so mentally and emotionally shook up that the last thing someone is thinking about is eating a salad? I'm just saying. Or working out at the gym when the gyms are still closed anyway. So honestly, I'm in a situation, I'll just sum it up. What's happened with this George Floyd situation, this situation of police brutality and police murders in general, is a need to understand that from the standpoint of being blacks, African Americans, this is deeper than health and fitness. This is a situation where there has been limitations and barriers for 401 years that have put us in a situation where we are burdened by these chronic diseases. And it has nothing to do solely with just eating poorly and not exercising. Now we're in a situation where, if you think from an emotional health standpoint, how can you even cope with stress? The stress of just being a black person. How can you cope with the stress of being a black person and try to engage in behaviors like healthy eating and exercise all at the same time, if you're not really mentally equipped to do that? And this is what I mean. I'm stressed out. What am I more likely to do? Eat, drink. I want to just chill out somewhere and forget about what's going on. This has nothing really to do with just lack of willpower or something I don't have, but this is life that is putting me there. I'm gonna drink more, and I'm in a house. I'm gonna eat more because I can't cope with this. And what I'm saying is, there's a mental health situation that exists anyway, but especially with blacks, especially when stuff like this happens, that basically says, when you're talking about health in general, public health especially, you have to really think about the mental challenges, the mental and emotional challenges that influence us being well, the financial challenges. Mm-hmm. There's a reason people are looting. There are financial challenges, there are emotional challenges. There are so many challenges that far exceed simple behaviors like exercising and eating well, that I was actually in a situation for the first time in a long time, and I still am. I don't have an answer. And that's where I am with that. I don't have an answer because I can't solve that problem. This is a systemic problem that I just can't solve. And so I'm still quiet because I don't know what to say.
Well, that's a good answer. So thank you. And thank you for even approaching that topic without just saying, look, I don't have an answer for that.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people want answers. Mm-hmm. Of course, we can't give it, but we can give input. And I do appreciate you giving input on that topic. I thank you for allowing me to do this in this beautiful home. You guys should see it. It's so beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
It is. And my family here is so beautiful. I'm so grateful for this opportunity. I tried to make this informal, but I mean, I couldn't help it.
Please.
But I'm thankful, appreciative, and I've had a good time. I mean, we didn't laugh and joke, but
we almost did. It's kind of hard with this topic.
Right,
sometimes.
it is. It's hard, but thankful, appreciative, and I'm going to give you a hug.
Thank you.
Love you so much. And thank you all for listening. I'm sure this has been just as exciting for you as it has for me. Again, thank you, Nina.
Thank you.
Do you want to give them some information on how to get information about?
Of course.
And then
Look.
you can end this. Give us summation.
It's simple, and NinaSherieFranklin.com is where the blog lies, and Nina Cherie PhD, NinaCherie. That's pretty much, PhD is my handle for everything, Twitter, Instagram, and anywhere else. And honestly, there's probably not a health-related question that I haven't answered. So simply drop in the website, put your answer in the search box if you want to, because I've answered a lot of questions. I generally write my blogs based on questions that are asked of me, whether it's something like losing your gut without losing your butt, to how can I control
Good choice.
to how can I control my diabetes, or how to better manage stress. I try to answer all those common questions, and when I do come out of my little thinking silo, I'll be more active on my Facebook page again. But like I said, I'm coping with this just like everyone else is.
Yeah, we missed
so,
you there, but we understand.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nina. And until next time, thank you again, and be one with yourself. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Bye.